Tired of ads interfering with your favorite sports podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening is available on Amazon Music for all the music plus top podcasts included with your Prime membership. Stay ahead of the game by downloading the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/sports ad free. That's amazon.com/sports ad free to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
You never want to find yourself out on the water fishing without the essentials. So it's best to always pack a Columbia PFG Solar Stream Elite hoodie to protect against the sun. I mean, it provides great protection and it's really breathable so you don't get hot. That's a win-win. Columbia PFG has a lot of great gear. So before you head out on the water, head over to Columbia.com/PFG to shop their performance fishing gear.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I am John Schmeelk, joined by Paul Dottino. The phone number for you is 201-939-4513. Hashtag Giants Chat. If you prefer to get in touch with us that way, you certainly can. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend, guys. This is our last week of live shows until after the 4th of July. And then the week after that as well. So if you want to talk to us, get in this week. We'll try to take as many of your calls as you can. We are going to start our opponent previews this week, but we're going to try to limit the length of those to about 15 minutes each. So we're going to have plenty of minutes to take your calls on all of these shows again at 201-939-4513. We are completely dark the week of the 4th of July. No shows at all. We do have a couple huddles going up that week, though, so stay tuned to that. And then the following week, we'll have 5 recorded BBKs going up. Those are opponent previews. Mm-hmm. And then we will be back the week, I guess that would be of the 15th with live shows. And then we are live the rest of the way. So make sure you come in and tune in when that comes. But that is what we're doing from here on out. A lot of stuff coming your way on the Giants Huddle podcast. We're starting all of our player interview series this week. We're starting with the quarterbacks, Pearson. I believe that's going up today, correct, if I'm not mistaken? So we'll go quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Then next week we'll only have a couple again, the 4th of July. And then we're going to start rocking out with the rest of our positions on both sides of the ball. And we're going to start our 100th anniversary podcast series as well, 100th season podcast series where we announce the top 100 players in Giants history, and we'll have at least one of those episodes going up each week, including 2 the week after the 4th. So make sure you tune into that. A lot of editing for Pearson over the next week or so as he gets all these ready, but the good news is that he gets a couple weeks off where he's not here every day. So you get punished now for a little bit of freedom later, which is good for everybody. All right, 201-939-4513. So the show today, folks, Paul and I are going to go head-to-head. We're going to go every other pick draft. We're going to draft players solely from the NFC East, and we're going to see which guy comes up with a better team. And also, I think it'll be useful to see how many players from each team wind up on this list to see kind of maybe where most of the talent lies in the division in the NFC East and how that's going to work. So, Pearson,
that's interesting.
You're going to track these teams in the doc for us. I also want you to track how many players from each team in the NFC East as well. And then we'll see which team gets the most at the end. And Pearson's also our judge, jury, and executioner here, so he will determine which one of us drafted a better team. Last year, when the show was over, he admitted that I did dominate Howard in this competition. But Howard was here and live, so he was afraid to say that on the show because Howard might smush him. So we'll get his honest opinion after today's show, which one of us came up with a better team.
Howard probably wanted to draft somebody from another division.
Yes. Do you want to do a little odds and evens to see who ends up drafting first?
Does not matter.
Pearson, who do you want to pick first here?
Paul,
you get to pick first. Who do you got?
What position do you want to start with?
We're just picking. No, we're doing whatever you want. That's the point of this.
Oh.
That's how the draft works. You pick any player you want, and we're going to build rosters based on how we want to do this.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought we were
That's
just
how a draft works.
I thought we were going to alternate position by position.
No,
and
you
then just
can
take
pick
guys.
any player you want first, the best player in the division, and then you build your team the way you want after that.
Okay. I had a totally different approach to this when I got set up.
Do you want me to pick first now so you have a little time to think?
Go ahead. Sure.
You sure?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not
you think
adverse
about it.
to that. I'm
No,
not
that's
adverse
fine.
to that.
Okay, so I will pick first here.
Wow.
And You know what? I had a pretty big debate this morning trying to figure this out. Who I thought was the standout position where maybe there was a really big drop-off after them. So I'm going to select Dexter Lawrence first, just because I don't love the other tackles in the division. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen are good players. I thought they had down years last year, but I really don't think that they were as good as they were in years past. And after that, it kind of falls off a cliff to like Jalen Carter and Oso Odigizua. Those guys don't get me that excited. So I'm going to lead off, and I'm going to go with Dexter Lawrence as my first overall pick.
Okay, so we're doing this regardless of position.
Well, we have to fill the positions on a roster.
Right.
But you can pick them in any order you want, yeah.
Well, then, I whether or not I want to, I have to pick Micah Parsons, right?
You can.
Don't
if
you
want.
have to?
Absolutely.
You have to. He's got to be one of the first 2 picks in the division.
See,
He does.
I know. I know you're not as high as Micah, so I honestly went in my mental thing here. I thought you were more likely to not pick him, so I was hoping to get him with my next pick.
Well, if
that's a good pick,
used
Paul.
correctly, like the Cowboys have used him the last couple of years, you got to take him.
That is an excellent pick.
All right.
It's a great pick.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a good pick. We'll write them down. See,
I
you
just
did it right.
did.
Okay,
I just
perfect.
did.
Good. That's an excellent pick.
I mean, I don't see how you can't.
I was playing mind games there because I knew you're not as big on Mike as other people are, so I thought maybe he would have a chance to drop to me
Well,
here.
he's a terrific
But it didn't
player.
work
He's
out.
just not LT, that's all.
Well, that's fine. Yes, that is true. Good pick. Nobody is LT. That is
Very
correct.
good, Pearson.
Okay.
You have learned.
So I am going to go here with my second pick. I'm going to pick Lane Johnson, right tackle from the Eagles, because, frankly, I looked around at the other right tackles in the division, Paul. It ain't great. And Lane Johnson is, frankly, he's a perennial all-pro, one of the best offensive tackles in football. So I'm going to go with Lane Johnson here as pick number 2 for me.
Yeah, all right. That's cool.
I'm glad you think that's cool.
No,
I'm just teasing.
the dude's
Paul.
really
No,
good.
no, he's
The dude's really
good.
good.
Yes.
Okay. Do I do it? Oh yeah, why not? I know he gets hurt all the time, but that's okay. I'll take Andrew Thomas.
That was my next pick, I think, Paul. You're doing very well. You seem very nervous.
Well, considering that I didn't even have the right concept as to what we were doing.
No, Andrew Thomas is a good pick. Andrew Thomas is an excellent pick. All right, I'm lining up here pick number 3 here. You took Micah Parsons off the board for me, so he's not available. I'm going to continue to build my offensive line. I'm going to go right guard. I'm going to go Zach Martin. I'm going to put him and Lane Johnson next to each other on the right side of my line, and that's going to give me a little bit of advantage on that side. So I'm going to go Zach Martin at right guard.
Yeah, that's really good. Too bad Kelsey retired. I might even consider taking him here.
Oh, he would have been off the board for me already. Trust me. Because after you get past Kelsey, Paul, the centers in the division,
I know.
not the best.
I know. I'm very much aware of that. All right.
Because there are some positions that are rather deep, which is what kind of makes this interesting, right?
I agree with you, and that's what makes this a little bit more.
Because if you're going by best player available, the next best player is pretty obviously, I think, at a certain position, but there's a lot of good players at that position,
Yes.
which doesn't make it quite as obvious.
Yes.
I thought maybe you might go with a former Giant here.
No.
Okay.
No. See, I had a entirely different concept when you told me what we were doing, and that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Oh,
for me.
no. This is definitely more challenging. There's no question about it, but it also makes it more fun, which
well,
is great.
it also means I should have given a little more thought to it had I understood the directions, but I did not understand the directions. Okay, so, all right. I hate, oh, man. Oh. I'm going to take, well, can I move a guy?
Yeah, if you want to move a guy.
I want to take Marlotta and move him to right tackle.
All right, fine. I was hoping you would not do that because I was saving him as my left tackle.
Paul, who was your second pick?
His second
Andrew
pick
Thomas.
was Andrew Thomas.
I got Thomas and Mailata and my tackles and Parsons at edge.
No,
I don't think
Mailata's a good pick.
And I don't think flopping tackles is really too much to ask.
No, I think that's fair. I have no problem with you flopping tackles. I think that's fine. All right, so I'm going to go here, and again, I'm looking at position scarcity. And, it's funny. I usually go with the prime positions here, but I actually think this is a pretty shallow position. I'm going to go with Bobby Okereke, inside linebacker, because I think the other inside linebackers, again, in this division just are not the best. So I'm going to go Bobby Okereke here as my green dot middle linebacker on defense.
Yeah, that's certainly a pretty good move. I'd be hard pressed to argue.
After that, you got like Devin White, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu. Dallas has nobody. I mean, it gets shallow pretty quick. McFadden, obviously.
Yeah, I'd be pretty hard to argue against you on that one.
So we have picked all front players so far, Paul. Both of us. 7 players have all been offensive line, defensive line. Then I just picked the first linebacker.
Who is
I
your
took
third
Parsons.
pick, John?
Well, Parsons an edge player.
Edge.
He's on the front.
Yeah.
My third player was Zach Martin.
Well, you build through the trenches, man.
Yes,
I
we
mean,
do.
this is not like we're not reinventing the wheel.
No,
here.
you're not.
Okay. All right. I tell you what. Do I really want to do this? Landon Dickerson.
Okay. I like that. All right, then you are going to motivate me to pick my other guard because I feel like it does fall off a little bit of that. I'm going to go with Tyler Smith, left guard, Dallas Cowboys, for my next pick.
Okay.
Sticking up front.
That makes a lot of sense.
So right now I got 2 Cowboys, 2 Giants, and an Eagle. I'm mixing it up a little bit, team to team. And I think you're similar. You have one giant. You have 2 Eagles, 1 Giant, 1 Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 Eagles. Oh man, it gives me the freaking chills.
It is what it is. You got to pick the best team, right?
I know.
You're doing a good job so far.
All right.
Sorry, trying to keep up. John, your last pick.
My last pick was Tyler Smith.
Thank you.
Left guard, Dallas Cowboys.
All right. I got to do A.J. Brown.
Okay.
I'm going to a skill position here, which is a little early, but
Not.
he's just too damn good.
He is one of the best players in the league. There's no question about it. And it's funny. I'm kind of open here. I got a couple options. I'm now leaving my last pick's going to be the last offensive tackle left because you took the third best guy and there's no much left after that. So I'm just telling everyone that will be my last pick in this draft because I do not love anyone else that's left. Let's see. I don't think there's anyone else here on the offensive line that I'm in love with. There is one other guy that I think sticks out at a position of scarcity, but I don't want to leave this without a top wide receiver at the position. So I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb as my selection here since you took A.J. Brown off the board. Paul.
All right. I'll take Trevon Diggs
Okay.
at corner.
He's my top corner. That's a good pick. All right. And by the way, the format here, guys, is that we're doing either 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end or 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends, depending on how you want to structure it. And on defense, we're doing, since nickel is basically your base defense now, we're doing 4 guys up front, 2 inside line, 2 off-ball linebackers, and then 3 corners and 2 safeties. So that's how we're kind of arranging the positions here. All right. So who'd you pick, Paul? I'm sorry?
I took Diggs.
You took Trevon Diggs. That's a good pick. I am going to go. All right, I'm going to go position scarcity now. I'm going to pick Saquon. I'll go Saquon Barkley.
No kidding.
Because I think he does stand out amongst the other running backs in the division. So I'm going to go Saquon.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. All right, I'm going to go here. I'll take the old man, Bobby Wagner.
All right, you want your inside linebacker. I get it. All right, this is now we're getting into interesting territory. This is a lot of strategy. What positions do you value the most? I think there's a lot of good options here. All right, I'm just going to start picking the guys that I think are the best players left now.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Brian Burns, edge player.
That makes a lot of sense.
I don't have an edge yet, so I need to have a.
Well-
I want to have an edge rusher, so you want to have a balanced roster, right? So I got Dexter and Burns as my 2 pass rushers right now, which I feel pretty good about.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, just I'll set the stage as Paul debates here. I have my 3 offensive linemen: Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, Lane Johnson.
I'll take Thibs.
You're gonna go who?
Thibodeau.
Oh, Kayvon. Ooh, okay, interesting. My 2 weapons are Barkley and Lamb. On defense, I have Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Bobby Okwah. 3 Giants. I didn't think I would be doing that, but that's interesting. Paul, what's your roster so far, just so people kind of know where we're at?
Offense, I got Brown at receiver, Thomas and Mulata at the tackles, Dickerson at guard. I'm sorry, I should be talking higher. And then my backers, I got Parsons and Thibodeau, and I got Wagner in the middle, and I got Diggs at corner.
You're counting Parsons as an edge, correct?
I'm counting Parsons and Thibodeau as edges.
Good. That's what you should. Perfect. Excellent. All right. As I look at the guys that are left here, and now you can save your running back for your last pick in the draft, as I can't pick a second running back. So that makes it
Okay,
easy
I
on
hadn't
you.
even thought of that,
Yeah.
but okay.
There's a lot of corners that are kind of in the same mix here that I don't love. I don't think they're standout safeties. You just picked another edge guy. All right, I'm going to select who I think the next best wide receiver is. I'm going to go Devonta Smith
Okay.
from the Eagles. And that gives me Lamb and Smith as my 2 wideouts, which I'm pretty happy about.
Now, this would be based on projections from 24 or what they did off of last year.
No, I mean, if you're building a team for this year, who would you want to have?
I'm taking Deontay Banks.
It's a good pick. He was the next corner on my list. All right, Paul gets his second corner. I have 0 corners right now. That makes me a little bit nervous. Okay, I'm just going to try. Since Paul has a couple of corners, I need really good wide receivers. I'm picking Terry McLaurin. So that is my 3rd wideout.
Scary
and
Terry.
I am stacking up my wide receiver core with CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, and Terry McLaurin. Whoo, boy. Try covering those guys, Mr. Dottino.
Well, I'm going to supplement A.J. Brown with Malik Neighbors.
Yep, he was being one with my next guy on the list, too. See, we didn't even talk about this, and our rankings always end up being similar. It happens every single time. All right, so let's see. I am going to go with my first corner. I will go with the guy that was a top 5 defensive player of the year candidate last year. I'm going to pick Cowboys corner Deron Bland.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, John. It's surprising when you look at his production. You understand why he's thought of in that regard. But when I watched him play, although they only played the Giants twice, I'm like, he doesn't stand out to me.
Well, did he have a pick versus the Giants last year?
I believe he had 1.
Bland gave up.
But he just doesn't stand out.
He gave up some big plays down the field last year, but he was just made so many, and it wasn't cheap interceptions either. They were like legit
I
real
know.
deal interceptions.
I'm aware. His production is very good.
And he's only, I think he's heading into his 3rd
I want to say
year
3rd
in
or
the
4th
NFL,
year.
and he's played inside and outside too, so it gives you some
Ascending
position
player
flex there.
Ascending player.
But no, Deron Bland is not at the level of like a Trayvon Diggs yet, in my opinion. So that's why I have Bland here, and that's why I'll add him to my little group of corners, or my first corner, I should say.
Okay, I know where I want to go with this one.
Yes, very little group, Pearson. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with which one of those 2 bastards do I take? Excuse me, folks.
I love it.
But you know what? It's really easy to get disgusted when you're talking about Cowboys.
Yes. Which one do you want? I don't know which one you're debating. I'm trying to figure out what guys you're debating here.
Well, it's either Hooker or Wilson. I want a safety.
Mm-hmm.
I want a safety. So it's either Hooker or Wilson. I'll take Wilson.
Okay. That sounds good. All right, I'm going to go with former Cowboy, now current Commander. I want my center because I think he's probably the best center in the division because Cam Jurgens is going to play center, but he hasn't played center yet, so I have trouble picking him as my starter.
You can take him if you want.
So
I'm
no.
not going to dispute it.
I
won't fight you on that.
No, I'm going to go Tyler Biotish.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Who has been a solid starting center, and I would like to secure that line a little bit there. So that's Tyler Biotish Commanders, Mr. Pearson.
That's true. That's true.
So I believe that is only the second Commander? No, I have McLaurin and Biotis. Do you have a Commander yet?
No.
You don't, right? So I think those are the only
He
two.
underachieved in Dallas. You know that?
Biotis?
Yeah.
He was a solid. He was okay.
starter.
He's a 4th-round pick. If you get a solid starter as a 4th-round pick, you got to be pretty happy with that.
I
no?
think they were hoping for more though.
Well, they did let him leave. So
They did. They didn't try to keep him.
then again, they don't have much money, especially given all the
No.
contracts coming down the pike for them.
No, that's true. Excuse me while I cry for
Yeah,
Dallas's
correct.
cap
Exactly.
problems. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go back to guard and take Tyler Smith.
I have Tyler Smith already. He's off.
Oh,
the
do
board.
you already
Yes.
have him? I'm sorry.
He's off the board.
Uh,
I got the 2 Cowboy guards. I got Smith and Martin.
okay. Then I will go. Okay. I'll go here. And I'm going to go for Jake Ferguson.
Ah, your guy. You got your guy. If you can't get him in real life, Paul's getting him on his fantasy team.
Got to. Got to.
All right, I'm going to go Malik Hooker, the other Cowboy safety, to try to,
There you
sort
go.
out my secondary a little bit. And you know what? There aren't that many deep safeties, Paul, in this division that I trust. Guys that have played a lot of like single high and the deep area of the field. So I think Hooker's probably the best of that group. So I was actually very happy that you selected Wilson. I wanted Hooker more. So
Okay.
I'll take Malik Hooker safety from Dallas. Paul, you're up.
I need a little more run support.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think, wow, should I do it or not? Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm looking at secondary, John. I'm not lying to you. I'm looking at secondary.
Oh, are you thinking about a rookie?
Tyler Newman.
Oh, you thinking about him? All right. I thought you'd be a different rookie.
No, Tyler Newman.
Okay, you're gonna go Newman. I'm gonna take it. You know what? I'll keep the theme going. I'm gonna take Quinion Mitchell, quarterback from Philadelphia.
Nothing wrong with that.
I gotta be honest with you. The weakness of my team right now is my cornerback core, and that's okay. All right, I'm gonna go Quinion Mitchell as my second corner there, across from Deron Bland.
Okay. And then I'll take Darius Slay to finish out my corners.
All right, I'm stuck now.
So I got Diggs, Banks, and Slay.
That's pretty good. That's a nice little group, Paul.
That's a good
probably
threesome.
one of the
It's a
strong.
good threesome.
That's one of the strengths of your roster right there. That's
I
pretty
think
good.
so.
Safety or corner?
He's
Slay's a corner.
Corner. You can put him as a corner. All right. Let's see. Where do I want to go next year? All right, I'm going to pick my quarterback of choice. I'm going to pick Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Because I think him and Hurts, we'd understand to pick both. I think Prescott's a better quarterback. I'm going to take Dak as my quarterback.
Nothing wrong with that. The guy's production is, it's good. So,
You don't have a defensive tackle yet, Paulie D.
No, I don't.
Saquon's going to run all over you.
That's if he stays healthy. I shouldn't have said that. I apologize, Saquon. I'm sorry.
We said the same thing when he was here. It's fine.
I know we did. All right, I'll go. Do I want to? Nah, I don't want to do that. Well, we only have to take 2 linebackers, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And you already have one.
I already
You
have one.
Bobby Wagner, yep.
Yeah, so I'll oh wow, should I take him or him? Boy, Devin White has been such an underachiever.
He has been an underachiever.
And
I agree with that.
Kendricks has done very, very well in this league, and I've never really liked him very much, but he produces. So I'll take Kendricks next to Wagner as my other linebacker.
Oh, the Cowboys. Kendricks, the linebacker from Dallas?
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
He's
Interesting.
been a productive player.
No, he has been.
I've never been overly enthralled with him, but he's been very productive, and I'm not taking Devin White.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it
that's
because I remember when he came out of school, you and I both talked about him and said, you know what? We got questions about him. Very sloppy with his tackling. Very inconsistent.
And not great in coverage, and that has also
proven true.
It has proven very true. Absolutely. Pearson, I'm having a debate here. I need your advice. Who do you like better? You like Josh Sweat or Bryce Huff? Which Philadelphia Eagle edge player do you like better?
I would go Sweat.
You would go Sweat over Huff, more of a complete player to go across from Burns? Fine, I'll listen to you. We'll go Josh Sweat, Eagles edge player, to play across from Mr. Burns.
Okay. Now it's time for me to go grab a defensive tackle because I got to go get one. It's either Allen or Payne.
Payne's your bigger body.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah. I like Allen better, though, so Jonathan Allen.
Okay. It's a good pick.
To help me out, could you just say team and position?
Redskins.
Commanders. Defensive tackle. Commanders.
Sorry.
Defensive tackle.
Yes.
All right, this is another good debate here, Pearson. Debating between Jeremy Chin or Chauncey. You know what? I'm going to play mind games with Paul's receivers. I'm going to go I'm going to go Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's going to start ripping the chain off of A.J. Brown. He's going to try to get them all riled up. He's going to try to start some fights. I want a little bit of a guy with an edge in the secondary for me, so I'm going to go a little Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Brown starts a fight, I'm benching him. All right, and then after that, he's getting suspended the second time.
Well, he's not starting the fight. Chauncey's starting the fight, and he's
okay.
He's trying to get A.J. Brown to fight.
I got you.
Who did Chauncey Gardner-Johnson always get in the fights with when he was with the Saints? Was it Mike Evans?
I don't recall.
There was a player in the NFC South. Remember he ripped the chain off the guy's neck during the game? I'm trying to remember who he ripped the chain off.
You're right.
Who did he rip the chain off? I got to look that up.
I don't remember
who it is.
All right, you look it up. Let me pick another pick. All right. Let's see here.
I think it was a buck. Let me see.
You think really? Mike Evans doesn't wear chains, does he?
I'm looking. No, maybe he doesn't.
I don't think he does. I think it's somebody else. I do remember the issue. I just don't remember the player.
Looks like Javon Wims.
Well, there you go.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had a dust up. That's what it was. Wims sucker punched Chauncey Gardner-Johnson apparently after he did that.
Oh my God!
Boy, that sounds about right. All right, you're up, Paul.
All right, I'll take Jalen Carter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought not going to pick Payne, huh?
No.
Interesting. I was actually gonna pick Carter over Payne as well. Paul,
he's younger.
Pick.
He's younger.
He is.
Right. I'm hoping for more durability.
Right, I need a 3 technique now. That's the problem. I got Dex at
D-line.
Yeah, D-line.
D-line. Carter from the Eagles.
D-tackle. Now, do I just pick Payne because he's the better player, or do I pick like Oso Odigizua because he's more of a 3 technique to go next to Dex? Do I consider fit or do I want quality? That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that. All right, well, I'm kind of getting down to the end of my positions here where there's only one guy at each spot. So we got some decisions to make. I'm just going to go Dallas Goedert Pearson, tight end, Philadelphia Eagles, to fill out my tight end spot. So I like my skill positions. It's quite good. Very happy with that. All right, you're up there, Paulie.
Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, 5 spots to fill, if I counted correctly. Is that right?
Yeah,
you got 5?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
Oh boy, this is. How'd you get all the depth charts on the same page, Paul? Where is that?
Our lads has it.
Really? They have it by. They have it. Oh, that's interesting. I knew they had it by team. I didn't realize they had it separated that way.
I gotta grab a receiver here. Okay, because I only have A.J. Brown and Neighbors.
And who the 6th wide receiver is actually an interesting debate. Who you like better at best as the 6th guy?
Well, the problem comes into, first of all, do you think Cooks has anything left?
That was my 6th guy on my list. Because he actually was pretty good last year, and he had a good second half of the year.
Right,
so I think he still has some juice left.
Or do you trust Darius Slayton, who is consistently good?
Yeah, but he's never even approached what
Never.
What
Never.
Cooks has done.
Well, Cooks has like 6,000 yard seasons.
I would have trouble picking Slayton. I would more try to find maybe a guy with some upside that I think can be on the way up.
Then you're looking at possibly even Jalen Hyatt
or Wandell.
No question. So, all right, I would go
It's a tough call.
since it's my third receiver,
Mm-hmm.
and I need someone to play slot, and I get Brown and Neighbors to play outside. I'll go Robinson, Rondale Robinson from the Giants.
All right. I think that's a good pick. Put him inside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the debate for me. As I try to get my my second offensive tackle, I'm going to continue to debate that. I'm going to take as my second linebacker Frankie Louvu, inside linebacker Commanders. Pearson.
Wow. They've had so much trouble filling that spot since.
You know what? He's been a good player though. Louvu. This is his first year in
all right.
Washington. He was
Yeah.
in Carolina before that.
Yeah. Goes back since the days of
London Fletcher.
London Fletcher. Since
Yeah,
they
no,
had
they
anybody
really
any
have,
good.
No, you're right. They really have
been
not been able to
forever.
replace London Fletcher. It's funny. You're right.
It's been forever, and I don't understand that, but it's just been the case. Austin Eckler was my running back. I'm going to take him.
It's funny. I couldn't decide who I would pick, Singletary or Eckler, just because Eckler's had so many injury issues and stuff like that. I was debating which guy I would pick.
You
if I had
took
to choose
Saquon
between
Barkley,
them.
didn't you?
No, I know, but I had three running backs written down.
Okay.
So I didn't know who my second back would be, Singletary or Eckler. I kind of was back and forth in that a little bit.
Yeah, I would take Eckler there. So that leaves me with 3 spots left.
Yeah, I think I only have a couple spots left here.
Okay.
I have corner, defensive tackle, and left tackle. And I'm going to have to draft a right tackle to put a left tackle. Since you did 2 left tackles, am I allowed to do 2 right tackles? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go Terrence Steele then as
Okay.
my second offensive tackle, and I'll have to move Lane Johnson over to the left side. Just because, well, you took 2 left tackles and you didn't leave me anybody, Dottino.
Well,
and
we
honestly,
determined that it was
No.
okay to flop a guy,
no,
right?
Paul, that's the exact strategy I would have taken. Doesn't mean I have to be happy about it.
Okay. Okay.
And here's the problem, guys. The 2 commander tackles are Cornelius Lucas and Andrew Wiley. Neither guy you would want to plug in there, with Brandon Coleman as a rookie. Right now, as good as the Cowboys have been at developing offensive linemen, I can't draft Tyler Guyton, a rookie there, to put a left tackle on a team like this. We already took both Eagles offensive tackles, and then you're left with Illuminor or Evan Neal, and I don't think either one of those guys has been as good as Terrence Steele has been. So I'm going to go with Terrence Steele then as my second offensive tackle. I don't like it, but that's where I'm at.
Okay. So now I have 3 spots: center, right guard, and quarterback still left. So
Paul, neglecting the interior of the offensive line.
well, it comes down to John Michael Schmitz. I'm not taking Hoffman. So it's
Juergens.
It's either Juergens or Schmitz.
They also, if you like Cooper Beebe.
Well, yeah, I suppose that's he would be in play, I guess. I mean, I still think he's going to be a guard more than a center. But I think they're going to put him at center for the beginning, aren't they?
They seem somewhat desperate at the position, so that would not surprise me.
I know. The question is, since Juergens has been around for a couple of years, he's also learned from Kelsey.
And he's been a solid solid guard.
So I would say only because he's got a little more experience and a little more head of the curve than JMS is, I will take Juergens at center.
Juergens was my second center. I think that's the right pick, Paul. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
All right. So now either Deron Payne or Oso Odigizua. This is interesting because I do like Payne as the better player, but I feel like he's a little repetitive with Dexter.
That's
you
fair.
know what I mean? He's more of a nose, I feel like.
That's fair.
So I'm going to go Oso Odigizua here as my second defensive tackle. I think he's a smaller guy. He can get upfield. I think he'll fit well next to Dexter.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That is Oso Odigizua, Dallas Cowboys, Pearson. Thank you.
So I have a guard and a quarterback still to take.
And I can't tag either one, so the order really doesn't matter. Just
Right.
pick
It
whichever
really
one
doesn't
matters.
matter at this point. Right. So it depends on. Well, it's down to Allegretti or Illuminor. For me.
Oh, Runyon. I think Runyon is a straight-up guard. Is probably the best of that group, no?
I'm not sure.
Interesting. All right.
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not sure that he is.
I had Runyon as my fourth guard.
Yeah.
Just because Illuminor hasn't played there a ton.
I know.
And Runyon is a solid starter.
I'll take Illuminor.
Okay. Interesting.
He's a bigger guy. He's had the positional flexibility. He's played 4 spots. I'll take him.
Okay. All right, and now I have a debate here, Pearson. I'm going to need your advice on this one, too. And, Paul, I'll get your take also, because you can't pick one of these positions either.
Okay.
If you were to pick one more corner, who would it be of the guys that are left? I'm debating between 2 veterans that have both played the slot for a long time and are pretty decent at it, Avonte Maddox and Jordan Lewis. Of those 2 guys, which one would you like better, or is there someone else at corner that you think I'm missing that I should select?
I would not object if you wanted to take Bradbury.
He's going to play safety for them, no?
They say he's going to play safety this year, but I would not object since he's a career corner. I would not object if you wanted to take him.
I don't know if I trust him. He can't run anymore.
Again, that's okay. I'm just saying if you wanted to, I would not throw up a red flag. Because that's what he's been for, a decade?
Right.
I wouldn't fight that.
All right. I'm going to go Jordan Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to like it, but that's where I'm going. Corner is my weakness. I'm not happy with my corners, but that's okay. All right, final pick, Paul. Select your quarterback.
I'm down to a quarterback. So it's either you took Prescott, so that means I'm taking either Jones, Hurts, or Jaden Daniels.
You're not picking a rookie here.
No, absolutely not. I'm taking Daniel Jones.
Over Hurts?
Hey, am I in Philadelphia right now? Unless I have a concussion and I'm in the middle of South Philadelphia, which I don't think that I am, I will take Daniel Jones.
Okay. Paul, Daniel Jones, pick 22. All right, let's look at the tracker here. Let's add up how many guys from each roster, okay? I'm going to read these off to you, Pearson. Just write these down as I go, okay? So we'll start, because Paul picked Micah Parsons first. I'll start with Dallas. So Dallas, we have Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, that's 2. Donovan Wilson is 3. Jake Ferguson is 4. Eric Kendricks is 5. That's Paul's 5 Cowboys. My team, Zach Martin is 6. Tyler Smith is 7. CeeDee Lamb is 8. Deron Bland is 9. Malik Hooker is 10. Dak Prescott is 11. Osa Odigizua is 12. Terrence Steele is 13. Jordan Lewis is 14. So
That's
I got
a lot of players.
14 Dallas Cowboys.
That's a lot of players.
It's 44.
That's
44
total
players.
between you both, right?
Yes,
All right.
14
So you
total
had 9,
Cowboys.
Paul had 5.
Okay. Now we're going to go to New York Giants, because Paul selected Andrew Thomas second. So we have Andrew Thomas, Kayvon Thibodeau, Deontay Banks, Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin, Wan'Dale Robinson, Daniel Jones, Jermaine Illuminor. So I count 8 there, correct? So Paul has 8. I selected Dexter Lawrence, 9. Bobby Okereke, 10. Brian Burns, 11. We got 11. 11 Giants. It's funny, I selected those 3 Giants early, and then you kind of picked up after I was done, and then you picked the rest of them. All right, now let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. We have Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, 2. A.J. Brown, 3. Darius Slay, 4. Jalen Carter, 5. Lane Johnson, 6. Devontae Smith, 7. Saquon Barkley, 8. Quinion Mitchell, 9. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 10. Dallas Goedert, 11. So I got 11 Eagles. And then the Washington Commanders. How many Giants was that, Pearson, total? 11 Giants? Okay.
Well,
and
now just whoever's left, right?
I still want to make sure that I actually added these all. If I make sure I didn't miss any
that's
players.
36 right there.
Yeah, I know. But let me just double check my math and make sure that Washington adds up to 8. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do this all over again, and I'd be very upset. All right. Bobby Wagner, 1. Jonathan Allen, 2. Austin Eckler, 3. Okay, that's 3 there. My team, Terry McLaurin, 4. I might have missed a guy here. Frankie Louvu, 5. All right, I got 5 Commanders. I think I missed a couple Eagles here. So let me just do Eagles one more time. Make sure I didn't miss anybody here. All right, real quick. Mulatto 1, Dickerson 2, Brown 3. This is great radio. 3. Darius Slay 4. Jalen Carter 5. I might have missed him. Cameron Jurgens 6. So Paul has 6 Eagles. Pardon me. And then I have Lane Johnson 7. Saquon Barkley 8. Devontae Smith 9. Quinion Mitchell 10. Josh Sweat 11. Gardner Johnson 12. Dallas Goedert 13. So that's 13 Eagles. I think that adds up right. And how many Commanders did I have, Pearson?
The one thing I missed.
What I did for the Commanders? I think I had
3 or 4.
No, I think I had 6, right?
I thought you counted 6.
I think I had 6 too. Does that add up?
Does
Did it
that add?
actually? Let me see. 6 Commanders. Washington 17 plus 27. I believe that equals 44.
Yep.
So I actually got that right. Okay. So we came now with 14 Cowboys, 13 Eagles, 11 Giants, and 6 Commanders.
Does that surprise you based on how we kind of think the division might go?
It's actually almost exactly how our position rankings went.
Isn't that nuts?
It's almost exactly how the position rankings went.
It's so no matter how you slice it, you still come out with the same pieces of cheese.
And if you want to, and Pearson, now you can compare the 2 teams. We're going to list them off for fans, and let's decide who we like better. Paul, you have your roster?
Oh,
in front of
yeah,
you?
right.
Yeah, get your roster. So on offense, I have my quarterback, and fans, you can call in and yell at us and tell us who you think is better too, or maybe any players we missed or guys you overrated or underrated.
Why don't you guys
All right.
just go by position?
That's what
team.
I'm. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have Dak Prescott. Paul has
Jones,
I have Saquon Barkley. Paul has
Eckler,
I have CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin.
and I've got Brown, Neighbors, and Wan'Dale Robinson.
I have Dallas Goedert.
And Ferguson,
My offensive line, 2 tackles, Terrence Steele and Lane Johnson.
Thomas, and Mulata.
Inside, Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, and center Tyler Biotish.
Dickerson, Illuminor, and Jurgens.
Okay. Defensive tackles, Dexter Lawrence, Osa Odigizua.
Carter and Allen.
Brian Burns and Josh Sweat on the edge.
Parsons and Thibodeau.
Okereke and Luvu at linebacker.
Wagner and Kendricks.
Corner, Deron Bland, Quinion Mitchell, Jordan Lewis.
Diggs, Banks, and Slay.
And then safety, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Malik Hooker.
Wilson and Newman.
I think those are 2 pretty well-matched teams, to be honest with you, Paul.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little better up front on offense on the line.
No question.
You're better on the back end on defense.
I would agree.
I'm probably a little bit better at wide receiver. And I think you're maybe a little bit better up front on defense. Just a little bit.
I
you have
agree.
Micah.
I think I would say an edge to my overall defense and an edge to your offense overall.
I agree with that. You think that's fair?
That's
Pearson?
how I see
Yeah,
it.
that's how I see it too. Wide receivers and corners.
Which, by the
you
way,
guys
the way
each-
we think about the game, I'm not surprised that's how it turned out.
I mean, I'm always Mr. Offensive Line, but I didn't do so well with the offensive line. I got the better tackles, but
Yeah, you did.
but you did better inside.
That was fun. It just shows you kind of where the talent is. And the positions that I think that are being a little bit short, Paul, it's not a great linebacker division, inside linebackers.
Well,
it's
you could make a case that inside linebacker is kind of thin around the league.
I think that's 100% true. But I also think back half, I think teams in this division, and look, the way we talk about them, this shouldn't surprise us, right? I think they put a lot of assets into the offensive and defensive lines, and I'm including edge players in that conversation. So if you're going to put a lot of your resources there, I think the back halves of the defenses here, and I'm including the linebacker level there. Think about it. The Eagles, Commanders, Giants, Dallas. Aside from Trayvon Diggs, who's really the only, Darius Slay is highly paid, but he's kind of at the end of the road. Because
Right,
he's
he's
a little
under
bit older.
down.
But
He's
Will
under
was a
down.
really good player. There's not a ton of investment in terms of big money in the back ends of these defenses.
Well, that's a good point, and I'm sure the Giants thought of that when McKinney came up for due and got huge money from Green Bay. They were not going to overload their cap
Right.
by bringing back McKinney at a huge number.
This is what makes it interesting, though. I think one of the strengths in this division, compared to the rest of the league even, is a wide receiver. So we look at a
Potentially.
division that's really good at wideout, but maybe have some issues on the back end.
Well,
That tells me you could have some high-scoring games.
that's because this division seems to prioritize the front. instead of the back.
Well, I think
they prioritize the defensive front. They want to get you to rush the ball out as opposed to cover you deep.
Well, and they also prioritize wide receivers.
No question.
I mean, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin. Malik Neighbors. All first-round picks.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have Terry McLaurin, who's played like a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
So they've definitely prioritized that position as much as they
I would
can.
say pass rushers, too.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good in this division.
Up front, absolutely, man. Michael Paul, that's why I didn't pick Michael so early, Paul, because I felt like there were so many good edge players, whether it's Burns or Thibodeau or Sweat, Brandon Graham, Bryce Huff. There were so many guys you could choose there.
His
you know what I mean?
production's just been so good, I had to take him where I did. But I think that ultimately, when you look at this division, any division, but right now the NFC East, the way it's constructed, John, once you get one team that has a specific strength in a certain area, and then that second team comes along and doubles down on that area, the other two teams have to follow, or they'll be buried for the next 5 years.
Or at least try to counter them in some way, shape,
exactly.
or form.
There has to be a reactionary from within your division.
Which is why the Giants' poor offensive line play has been particularly damning over the past 10 years. Because the Cowboys and Eagles have been so good up front rushing the passer, and even the Commanders to a certain extent, right? When they had Sweat, Payne, Allen, and Young, they had a good front too. It makes it very difficult.
And conversely, Washington and the Giants over the last decade have had the two weaker offensive lines in the division, which is why those two teams have had trouble making the playoffs. That's the way it goes. Like I say, once you have one team doing something with one unit, that's something. But then when a second team does, if the other two teams don't follow, you're just going to be left below sea level. That's just the way it goes.
And look, Joe Shane has talked about this too. You build inside out, right? You build with your big people first, and that's the way Tom Coughlin always believed in building a team also, right?
Mm-hmm.
You win with your big people, and then you supplement outside of that. Though, I think, again, the weapons of wide receiver is the exception there because you want to have perimeter weapons outside, and the Eagles and Cowboys and, frankly, the Giants and Washington over the last couple of years have all prioritized that too. So I think that's kind of the lesson that I've seen, doing this whole exercise here.
Well, because of the way the rules have changed over the years to open up the passing game, there is no doubt that teams have been a little bit more leaning towards the big play skill positions and the big play wide receivers, understanding that these defensive backs in a lot of ways are helpless to stop some of these elite kind of receivers.
It's hard. You either get to the quarterback, they try to cover the guys, right?
Right. I mean, because there's two ways to stop a pass. Blanket the guys who are in the routes or make the quarterback have to hurry to throw. Those are the two ways.
Which with the modern rules is very difficult to do it the way with the secondary.
Correct. So, I mean, I understand why teams have had to kind of go the way they've gone. But, when push comes to shove, it's still a game of the trenches. And the offensive and defensive lines, ultimately, everything feathers out from there. Because if you've got that foundation up front, you can always try to scheme something else behind them. But the foundation is right along the line of scrimmage. That will always be the case, John, no matter how many years we talk about this.
I looked down. I did not realize it's already 120. That draft went a while. I had no idea that went that long. That was fine. I thought it was a good exercise. I didn't think we were doing it for that long.
I hope the folks were interested. I thought it was a very unique situation. I've never done that before. And I didn't even realize what the rules were until I sat down.
Pearson, you know what by the way, folks, we have 10 minutes. If you want to try to squeeze in a call or two, we're happy to do them before the end of the show at 201-939-4513. You know what the best part of this is, Pearson? I managed to con Paul into doing his first ever fantasy football draft.
That's very true.
Is that?
And he could only pick Eagles, Cowboys.
I didn't even think about it that way. That's a really good point.
Is that what we called this? I didn't think of it that way.
Are we building real teams or are we building fantasy teams?
I was thinking about it more in a real terms.
Well, I know, but fantasy as in they're not actually playing on the field.
I suppose.
I'll take that as a W for me. That's
fine. Good for you.
Oh man!
No money and no units involved, so therefore it's not really fantasy football.
That's fine too. That is fine too. Other things I kind of thought about going through this is I do think we're seeing some step back on the offensive line a little bit from both Dallas and Philadelphia. I think there are more holes in those groups.
I agree.
Than we've had in years past. Dallas, you mentioned their center position. They could be starting a rookie in Cooper Beebe or basically an undrafted free agent either from last year or the year before in Hoffman.
Yeah.
Tyler Guyton, a rookie left tackle. The Eagles are putting Juergens at center for the first time. Tyler Steen is projected to be their right guard. He's fine, but he's not a player. He's not Isaac Seumalo or the guys they had there previously. So I do think, theoretically, and again, the Cowboys coach the offensive line extremely well.
Yes.
The Eagles coach the offensive line extremely well. We hope the Giants are now going to coach the offensive line extremely well. I think that'll mitigate some of those issues, but those units are not as dominant as I think they've been in years past.
I think this is the first year in, do I dare say, almost a decade, that both the Eagles and the Cowboys lines are going to come down a notch.
Yeah, and I think
How
that's
far?
why. And that's why
I don't
think
know.
Both those teams might come down a notch this year too. To be honest,
It's entirely possible. That's, if you're Washington and the Giants, that's what you're hoping for. I don't know how far they will drop, but they will. Those two offensive lines are not as talented as they've been over the past decade. That just happens to be true. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that how rosters will turn over the course of time. You can't keep them all, and you can't keep them all young and in their prime.
Yeah.
Because at some point, Kelsey was going to get old.
yeah, Kelsey retired. They lost Seumalo to free agency last summer, correct? If
Yeah.
I remember properly. Dallas lost Tyler Biotis to free agency, and Tyron Smith
left tackle
went
Tyron
to the
Smith
Jets.
gone. Yeah, at some point in time, there's going to be overturned along that line. So
You can't pay everybody, right?
this is the year where if Washington and the Giants can make a move in the trenches and coach their guys up and get maximum production out of all of their young guys, this is a year where you could see that gap close some.
I think the Giants have a better shot of it than Washington does. Because
I
Washington
agree.
hasn't really added those high draft pick young pieces to their group
Correct.
yet. For some reason, and I don't know why they did this with the young quarterback coming in, a rookie quarterback that had great protection in college. Mm-hmm. They didn't really do a ton up front to try to protect that kid.
No, they didn't. He's going to have to run around a lot. Now,
He can, but it could be a problem.
the other part here that could help the Giants in the division is that now, and this is why the Burns acquisition was so huge, because with that triangle of Thibodeau, Burns, Dexter in the middle, and Okereke right behind him, and the potential blitzer in Isaiah Simmons, now all of a sudden the Giants' pass rush could be one of the top, I'm going to say they could be top third in the league. Could be.
No, they have a chance to be. Yeah, I agree with
Could
that.
be.
Top, yeah.
And if that's true, if they could be top third of the league in pass rush, taking advantage of those two offensive lines in Philly and Dallas that have taken a dip, all of a sudden that makes those games more competitive.
Paul, when is the last time the Giants line up against Dallas in week 4, right? Week 4, September 26th. Mm-hmm. When's the last time we go into a game like that saying, you know what?
The Giants can win the line of scrimmage.
The Giants have a mismatch here where they can set Brian Burns up on Tyler Guyton and have confidence you can win that on every third down. Against the Dallas Cowboys of Philadelphia Eagles, when is the last time we were able to say that? I don't remember. I mean, Tyron Smith's been there for 15 years.
It's a decade. It's a decade. I mean, think about the Giants' last Super Bowl team in 2011. You had guys on that defense who you knew when you played Dallas, you could give them some help.
And JPP had a really good game against
Exactly.
them in 11.
But in the last decade, I'm taking it further than just a man-on-man matchup. I'm saying you're going to play Dallas or you're going to play Philly. Tell me, do the Giants have an edge in the trenches this Sunday? And I couldn't say that when playing those last two teams, those other two teams over the last decade. I couldn't do it.
Now,
I could not do it.
You still want to give the Giants' offensive line an advantage over their fronts. I don't think we're there yet.
No, we're
but
not.
You hope you could give the Giants' defensive line an advantage over. I would still think the Eagles' offensive line is probably still ahead of Dallas just because they don't have that rookie tackle out there like the Cowboys do. Mm-hmm. They still have Lane Johnson and Mailata and Dickerson, who are three high-quality players.
I agree.
Dallas still has two really good guards in Smith and Martin. Mm-hmm. Terrence Steele is an average right tackle. But then they have two rookies, or Hoffman, who is a virtual rookie, and Guyton. So, yeah, look, I think you could head into that Week 4 matchup, Paul, and actually think that, what do we always say when the Giants play Dallas? Well, you got to avoid getting the third and long so that pass rush can get out. So what are we going to say now? Well, if you could stop the Cowboys on early downs and put them in the third and long, and you got Brian Burns against Tyler Guyton trying to rush the quarterback, you're going to feel pretty good about that.
Well, yeah, because the other day, right?
And even Dexter Lawrence against whoever their center is. Like, those
no
are
question.
two big matchups.
Because what Bowen's going to be able to do is that somehow, some way, with Thibodeau, with Burns, and with Lawrence, and it doesn't matter who the other defensive tackle is, you can't double all of them. So if Burns can win his one-on-one, or if any of those three guys, it doesn't matter the fourth guy. The fourth guy doesn't even have to win his one-on-one.
Yeah, you can double Dexter, chip on Burns, but then Thibodeau's one-on-one.
That's it.
Correct.
So you have three guys on their front who all have the ability to win their one-on-one. So which guy are you going to leave one-on-one? Which guy? That's a problem.
And my guess, it's going to be Thibodeau on Steele, and he is going to have to win that matchup.
And that's where now the responsibility goes on the individual player to say, hey, we're setting you up for success. We've drawn the double here. We've drawn the double here. Now you go get it done.
You have to.
And whether it's Burns on one play, Thibodeau on another play, Dexter on another play, whoever gets it at different times during the game. Because you know what the Cowboys will do is mix up their blocking scheme.
Oh, you have to.
Because they're not going to show you the same double every time.
And the Giants will swap Burns and Thibodeau, too, to try to confuse
them.
No
question. So now it's incumbent upon your guy, when they get that one-on-one, they must do their job. Like Belichick always says, right? Do your job.
Yep.
Do your job.
All right, let's squeeze in Steve in D.C. before we say goodbye. Steve-O!
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up, bud?
Paul, John, how's it going?
We're good.
Good. Listen, I guess Paul's comment kind of made me call in. Well, I guess not just Paul's, when we all talking, comparing our defensive line to the rest of the divisions. And here's my thing is this. I really feel like, number one, we have too many of the same type of players on both sides of the ball. Burns is a great player, but I do not like the pickup. I feel like we need a little bit more power as opposed to speed. So, Ojulari has to stay healthy. I'm really not sure why we didn't bring in another 3-tech, because I really feel like Nacho's not going to be able to get it done. Part of the problem with Dex is he's not getting enough rest, and we should have learned from that. So we have not only do we've got a lot of the same players, but we have depth issues.
Well, Steve, I do think they have a bunch of guys that they can plug in nose to give Dexter a blow. I do think they'll have to figure out 3 technique along the way. I think they would have liked to try to add a 3 technique specifically in the draft. But if you remember, there was a huge run in the beginning of the second round before the Giants got to their second-round pick where a bunch of those guys went off the board, and I think that hurt them a little bit, and then they, frankly, ran out of cap space. So I agree. I think they could use some more depth there and more of a sure thing at the 3-tech. They don't have that. That's one of the spots where I think you're going to have to figure things out as you go.
Yeah, that's the thin piece for me. I'm not so much concerned with Burns. Burns is an all-around player, a two-way player, and when you pair him again,
and so is Thibodeau. Thibodeau
yes,
will
he
play
is.
the run.
So you got Spidey and the Black Panther, which we now know that's what they want to be. Okay, so you got Spidey and the Black Panther, and I think the combination of both of them makes for a very dangerous situation for offensive coordinators. So I would disagree with you there. I don't think you should be down on Burns.
Well, like I said, Paul, I'm not down on him. Okay, he's a great player. I just really feel like he's the same type of player. Okay, so I really have somebody with a little bit more power.
Now, Steve, here's the thing, by the way, just real quick. Those are the types of edges that Bowen wants.
Yeah.
So that was by design.
That's what he did in Tennessee.
Exactly. He wants smaller, quicker, upfield guys rather than kind of those big, hold-the-edge type of guys. So that's by design. We'll see if it works. But those are the types of guys that Bowen wants out on the edge.
And whether or not, the backups are Tamon Fox or whether it's Boogie Basham or whether it's...
now, Boogie's a bigger guy.
Boogie is a bigger guy.
Boogie's a bigger guy.
Darian Beavers is still here, too.
He's not an edge guy, though.
He's not an edge guy. He's usually more an inside guy, although he did play some edge and did play some safety at Cincinnati.
He did.
But let's see. The point is there are bodies. As you go into the depth chart at the linebacker spot and the edge spot, at least there are bodies there. So that's why I'm not that concerned. The 3 technique, I agree with you. I'm not so sure who the best 3 technique is on this team right now. I've been pushing Ryder Anderson. But I don't know. He's an unknown.
I think body type wise, he would
Neighbors-
probably check the box. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
This is a great player too, but I mean, obviously, I just feel like we basically have a whole bunch of slots, and we should have probably gone if we were going to go. I mean, I didn't want to go receiver. Let me make that clear. But as great as Neighbor is, I really felt like we needed a bigger body, more possession. We should have probably considered Dunze. I just really feel like we really picked towards needs and not, the best player available. And I'm not happy with it. The draft. I just feel like we had low-hanging fruit for 3 years in a row. I've never seen us pick this high in the last since 1976 for 3 years in a row, and we still have depth issues, and we have a lot of the same players. So I just,
Steve, I would say this. Steve, it seems to me you wanted them to pick for. You said you felt like they picked for need rather than best player available.
Yeah.
But if they think but you said they have too many guys that are the same. So they picked Neighbors because they thought he was the best player,
right?
Even though he was maybe a little more similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the thing is this. I mean, honestly, I'm just really I'm all about the show me. I mean, I'm not really happy with the way things went. I'm not happy with the way we handled McKenzie. I mean, McKinney, letting him walk, we should have already had that figured out. I'm not happy with the way we handled Saquon. Those things should have been figured out long before the end of the season, and we should have traded them and actually got some value as opposed to just watch them walk away. So it's just about show me at this point. I mean, it's I'm always optimistic when they snap the ball, but right now, until proven otherwise, no one's getting a nickname from me. I'm calling you by your full government name. They don't deserve a nickname right now.
No, look, Steve. Hey, look, Steve. From a fan's perspective, you guys want to sit there and prove it to me before I buy in?
That's
given
fair.
what we've seen over the last 10 years?
That's fair.
I'm not going to argue with you, dude. Like, I get it. We all have scars over what we've seen over the last decade. I understand. I'm not going to argue with that.
Steve, I will say this to you, and I've said this many times on the program. I'm going to repeat it one more time. When you have a thin spot or a hole in your lineup, you look at your guys and you say, look, is there someone there who at least has the potential or the possibility of filling it? There are some teams that will have 3 or 4 holes in their lineup, and they know going into training camp. And we've seen some Giants teams in the last several years. We knew, that spot is a problem. They don't have a guy who can potentially or possibly fill it and do a functional job. I look at this Giants team right now, and I think there's a functional answer or a possibility at every one of their spots. I don't see any gaping holes that are just gushing blood. I mean, you could argue the second corner spot if you like.
The secondary has a lot of unproven people.
A lot of unprovens. We know that. A lot of unprovens.
A lot of them.
I'm big on Flott. I'm really big on Flott. I'm sorry. I just am. And I could be wrong. And I hope I'm not. But I'm big on Flott. Whether or not the slot works out, again, unproven. But at least there are guys. There are options. Trey Herndon helps that situation out too.
Hey, look, but Steve's right. I think when we've kind of gone through this exercise, the Giants actually have some guys ranked at the top of the spots in the division, whether it's Okereke or Dexter or Andrew
been a while, hasn't
Brian
it?
Burns. But I think what they're missing right now, and then we'll wrap here, Paul, they're missing a lot of, all right, well, we know this guy's a solid starter. Right? Like, for the Cowboys, my last pick, I didn't like it, but I picked him. I took Jordan Lewis.
Right.
Like, who are the Jordan Lewis equivalent players in the Giants? Like, can Flott become Jordan Lewis? Right? Can, Andrew Phillips become Jordan Lewis? Who's the Tyler Biotish? Who's, all right, solid starter. Who's the Tyler Biotishes on the Giants? You know what I mean? Like, these young guys you hope can become those solid starters, but they haven't yet. So you actually have some high-end guys, but you haven't. And I think this was Steve's point with his depth comment, which I get where he's coming from.
It's absolutely fair.
You don't have enough of those guys who are like, all right, he might not be a Pro Bowler, but he's not going to hurt you. He'll go in there, he'll do his job, he'll be solid about it. Like, I think Jason Pinnock's kind of one of those guys, right? But maybe he can be more. And you have a lot of guys that I think are still questions that you hope, to your point, can prove they can be those guys as they get more of an opportunity.
Your Pinnocks, your McFadden's, those guys are just solid players, right? They're solid players. But the question becomes, how many of the projection players
can become guys
are
like
going
that?
to become production players?
Like even like John Michael
That's
Schmitz
the
to
question.
an extent, right? Off his rookie year. He needs to show he can be a good starter.
He had his rookie growing pains. Now you're year 2. Now you got to be better than that.
Right. Correct. And
That's
even Hyatt and Wandale Robinson, right?
Got to be better.
They haven't proven anything yet.
Got to be better.
So I'm with you. Paul, good stuff. All right. So it'll be Paul and Howard tomorrow. We'll start our opponent previews with the Vikings. Paul Allen, their play-by-play guy, will join around 1:15. So we'll do calls for the first 45 minutes.
Okay.
Then we'll get to Paul Allen at 1:15. Then we'll head with the Browns. Paul and I are on Wednesday. We'll do Cleveland. And then it's Paul and SciTac on Thursday and Friday. That would be Paul's going to book guest for the Seahawks, I guess, and the Bengals, I think, are the next two teams on our list for Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
So we'll make sure we get that
We'll
done.
do it.
For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. Thanks for joining us on Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac. We'll see you next time, everybody.
So, should we go electric?
I think we should go electrified with Toyota.
Electrified?
Electrified means options. Yes, we could go all electric with the Toyota BZ4X, but then there are hybrids like Grand Highlander, or we could do something in between like a RAV4 plug-in hybrid.
So, Toyota is electrified diversified?
Yup, and with more options for reducing carbon emissions, the closer we all get to Toyota's Beyond Zero vision for the future.
Exactly how much coffee have you had this morning?
Learn more about our Beyond Zero vision for the future at toyota.com/Beyond Zero.
You never want to find yourself out on the water fishing without the essentials. So it's best to always pack a Columbia PFG Solar Stream Elite hoodie to protect against the sun. I mean, it provides great protection and it's really breathable so you don't get hot. That's a win-win. Columbia PFG has a lot of great gear. So before you head out on the water, head over to Columbia.com/PFG to shop their performance fishing gear.